Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. I'm your host, Colin Price, and you know what? No, I think. Hold on. We got Spider-Man coming out next week. Nah. The new Resident Evil one? Zach Kreger, Weapons Barbarian, doing Resident Evil. That's supposed to come out in a couple months. Nah. Dune 3? Hell, I haven't even seen part 2 yet. No joke. Avengers Doomsday. Oh yeah, the one where Marvel. Yeah. We're definitely not just bringing Robert Downey Jr. back as a multiverse variant of Iron Man who went evil. No, he's actually legitimately Doctor Doom. Fuck off with it. Okay, then we got. I don't know. I don't think anything's gonna top this one, guys. I think we could just close the theaters now. Yeah, that's it. 2026 is over. We're done here. Christopher Nolan fucked it up for everybody. The Odyssey. The Odyssey was written and directed by Christopher Nolan, and obviously based off the almost 3,000-year-old poem by Homer. Stars Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, John Leguizamo, Charlize Theron, Samantha Morton, Lupita Nyong'o for 5 minutes, Elliot Page not playing Achilles, and many, many others. There's a lot of people in this one. The Odyssey, of course. I mean, most of us learn about this one in high school. It's kind of like Romeo and Juliet or The Great Gatsby. But for those of you who do not know what the Odyssey is, the story is about a great soldier named Odysseus, who's played by Matt Damon here. And after winning the Trojan War, he and his men are trying to get back to Ithaca, where Odysseus is going to reunite with his wife Penelope, and who's played by Anne Hathaway, and his son Telemachus, who's played by Tom Holland. But along the way, Odysseus makes some, let's just say, questionable decisions, and this leads his men to have various encounters with different monsters, entities, dangers, all kinds of things on the sea, and these kind of act as trials that they have to overcome in order to get home. And yeah, like a lot of people, I first read the Odyssey in high school, and it was one of those, I remember we spent about a month on the Odyssey. We read it as a class, and then we watched the miniseries from the 90s with Armand Assante. And I remember just really loving it as a story. I mean, when I was a kid, especially after watching the Indiana Jones movies for the first time, I became really into mythology. My mom had a very old paperback copy of Mythology by Edith Hamilton, and I would frequently steal it so I could read the different stories. And but especially the Herculean stuff and the Titans, the gods, all that stuff really interested me. And I guess it's one of those things that because we had the miniseries, I never really considered that someone would try to do the Odyssey as a motion picture, as a theatrical release. One, just because there's so much to it. There's a lot in the Odyssey. It's not a short story. It is an epic. And I mean, when I found out that Christopher Nolan, of all people, was going to do it, I was excited. Christopher Nolan's one of my favorite directors. Several of his movies are in my top 20, top 30 of all time. One of my favorite directors, and he is a visionary. But I thought, Christopher Nolan's whole thing is he likes to do things very realistically. He's not a fan of CGI. He's not a fan of digital effects. He's not a fan of putting a cartoon or an animation on the screen. He really wants to immerse the audience and make you think that what you're looking at is real. So when it comes to things like the Sirens or Scylla and Charybdis, even the Cyclops, although I think that's kind of an easier thing to do practically, I was really curious how he was going to do some of this stuff, or even if he was going to do some of this stuff, or if it was just going to be oh yeah, here's these characters and here's these, but I'm not really going to show you anything, or I'm not really, or the fear that I had legitimately that Christopher Nolan just might not have the fantastical elements, and maybe this was going to be more about the dangers of the sea and Odysseus trying to get home. But then I was wrong, guys. It's here. It's almost all here. Start off with the good, and there's a lot of it. The acting is phenomenal in this movie. I don't think there's a bad performance in the film. It is kind of strange because almost every actor in this is a big name actor, and I don't know if that helps or hinders this film. You know, when you have someone like Charlize Theron on screen for just a couple of scenes, and her only real point and purpose in the script is just to ask Matt Damon what he remembers of certain things that happened, you can't help but be like, that could have been anybody. That could have been a no-name. Helen of Troy, I know that there was a lot of controversy around Lupita Nyong'o in this. But when I was watching, I couldn't help but think, you know, it's nothing against her. She does very well in the film. There's nothing against Lupita Nyong'o. But I'm like, you could have cast anyone in this. There's so little dialogue for some of these characters. There's so little that they're actually doing that it makes me wonder what the point was of just trying to have an A-lister every time that you turn the camera around. That being said, the talent's hard to disregard. It's just about every performance in this movie is phenomenal. Also, the music by Ludwig Göransson. The man is fresh off his Oscar win for Sinners, which he really deserved. I don't know if he'll win for this one, but he definitely will probably get a nomination, and I won't be upset if he does. The music is really incredible in this. Half of the score of this has got to be done with instruments that they either rebuilt or that were kind of on their way out the door. There's no, at least that I noticed, there's no modern instruments in the score of this film. It really does a great job of making you feel like you're in this time, that you are part of this, that you are right there with some of these characters. The music does a lot to intensify that feeling. Also, the different creatures and supernatural entities are all handled very well in a very Nolan kind of way. And what I mean by that is even the most outlandish stuff is played pretty down to earth. How much am I allowed to give away here? I'll say that, some of the monsters are either right in your face and you can kind of guess how they were practically done, or some of the others, in particular the Scylla, you only kind of get glimpses of. And I mean, I don't know how you do the Scylla without CG unless you do it the way Nolan did it, where it's very clearly some puppetry, some animatronic work, and some effects to make it seem larger than it is. But I was just happy to see virtually all of these entities and characters from the story. There are a couple we don't get, but I do think that all the characters get a scene that you would want to see. There's one in particular that had me kind of, I don't want to say cringing in the theater, but had me on edge when one of the characters introduces herself as Cersei. And I thought, oh, great, Cersei. If you know, you know. But I'm like, how are they gonna do Cersei in a Christopher Nolan movie? Well, I'm not going to tell you guys how they do it, but I will say it made me feel physically sick. Getting into the mixed, and I mean, I'm usually not the kind of guy to quibble over this kind of stuff, but there were some scenes that were hard to stomach. There's a scene, not the fantastical stuff, but just some scenes of cruelty, especially to animals. There's a dog who takes a good deal of abuse. If that kind of stuff bothers you, there will be some moments in this that you're not going to like. Take it at face value for what it is, though, because this is a 3,000-year-old story. Not every character in this story is the nicest person. And getting into the negatives, I don't know. I'm kind of racking my brain. I don't know if it's just that I'm kind of like high off of just having gotten out of the theater and experienced this. Maybe if I watch this movie one or two more times, I'll be able to spot things that I just genuinely don't like. But I can't think of anything offhand. This is a movie that is very meticulously crafted to be a spectacle, but to also be an exercise in really immersing the audience in what's going on. I don't know if it'll win anything, but I definitely expect the Odyssey to sweep Oscar nominations this year. I do think this is going to be the favorite. It's already sitting pretty high on Rotten Tomatoes, both with audiences and with critics, and I can completely understand why. There's been a lot of manufactured outrage, and that's it. I'm just going to call it what it is, toward this film before anyone even really saw it. I can safely tell you that all of that is just that. It's manufactured. It's a nothing burger. All this crap. But having said all that, if the casting of a character who's in a 3-hour movie for a couple of minutes is enough to make you not want to watch the movie, frankly, maybe you don't deserve to enjoy it. There, I said it. And before I wrap this up, like I said, there's a lot of A-listers, a lot of great performances in this, but I do want to point out Samantha Morton as Cersei was amazing. Way to take a character who, no pun intended, on paper is just this witch who's just, not the nicest person in the world. The way that the script, the way that Nolan chose to, the direction he chose to take that character was a lot more interesting to me and in a way humanizing than what other adaptations of this work have given us. I thought Samantha Morton, she stopped the movie dead in its tracks whenever she showed up on screen, even though she's only in it as well for a few minutes. Those few minutes made a lasting impact. Also, Robert Pattinson, who's kind of hit and miss with me, but he does a pretty good job here as kind of a smarmy, cowardly bad guy. He can play arrogance very well. He definitely does in this one. And then John Leguizamo, who is a blind servant to Odysseus. Not the kind of thing I would expect from John Leguizamo, but he had a few of the best moments in this film. Acting-wise, there are parts of this movie that I think should be studied, quite frankly. I better cut it around here, though, guys. Honestly, I feel like if I keep going, I'm just going to give more and more stuff away that I shouldn't. And frankly, I could talk about this movie for a long time, but I want you guys to all go out and see this for yourselves. This is, in my opinion, the movie of the year so far. This has knocked Obsession off the #1 spot for me. I give The Odyssey 4 out of 4 stars. Is it the best Christopher Nolan movie? No, but I would say it's in the top 3 or 4. That's my review of The Odyssey. Stay tuned, I got a lot more coming. And thank you for watching Priceless B Movies.